feedback. We're going to be talking about God of War Ascension, Beyond, and we're going to have our good friend Robert Bowling from Robotoki come here and talk to us about E3. This is feedback, but I'm not Blair Herter. And welcome back, everybody. It's great to have everyone here. I'm Eric Eckstein from G4TV.com. Love you too, man. You're the best. Also have to me the most excellent Jessica Chobot has joined us.
Hey! Thanks, babe. I love you too.
And we have, of course, our regular Steve and Nicole.
Oh, I'm glad that Blair's not here anymore because he's a bully.
He is a little bit of a bully, but we also have Robert Bowling from Robotoki here. So everyone, thank you.
Woo!
So wanted to start with talking about God of War Ascension because Sony brings back God of War. Everyone's talking about it. Brutal combat. Let's look at a clip from God of War Ascension so we can see what we're talking about here.
Yes.
Well, it totally sucks to be that guy. What do you guys think? What have you thought, Jessica? When you see that clip, what does that make you feel?
Like I'm kind of gonna throw up, but also that it's incredibly awesome. It's kind of more of the same, but I'm totally okay with that. I think the best thing about the whole God of War series are those just gut-wrenching kills. I mean, even when I was watching the other thing that they showed at the press conference, all of a sudden the clip showed and my phone lit up and it was my father texting me saying, "Oh my God, what did I just watch?" And I'm like, "Dad, that's called watching awesomeness." He's like, "Do you think you have a copy?" I'm like, "I'll hook you up later."
But I mean, I think that's a good point. They didn't change the formula too much because they know that fans really like that. And Robert, when it comes to monkeying with games, how far do you want to go when you're making a sequel?
I think for me it depends on how many iterations you are in. I'm a big fan of what we're seeing a lot this year of really ramping it up, really changing what you expect to see from a sequel. That is, big monsters, check. Big slashing gameplay, check. And for this E3, chin stabbing, but I will give it to them. They took the chin stabbing to a new level this year.
Because
not
the
only did they stab
was
it,
followed up with eyeballs being gouged out. So I mean, they really they raised the bar for violence.
Yeah,
all this new technology really allows us to get chin stabbing and eyeball gouging in a way that we haven't in previous generations, and I'm really happy about that.
Well, it's like if it works, why bother trying to change it?
If it ain't broke.
Yeah, just keep rolling with what you got as long as.
But they have done something new because now they have multiplayer, and I know
Which is what
Nicole,
we
you
just
were able
saw.
to play
Yeah,
some.
the video we just saw is the Spartan vs. Trojan multiplayer. I was one of those people who at first was like, why does God of War need multiplayer? But then when I played it and they explained it to me and I actually got to grapple someone's head off, then it made sense.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh,
So
all right.
eviscerating your friends, that's when it's
That's
really
really
a
what
fun
it's
game.
about.
Yeah, okay.
yeah, that's it. That's the reason to get God of War this year is you have everything you always loved, and for people who were maybe getting burned out on that, this spices it up. That's what you have to do. I mean, multiplayer is not a small add-on. That's a massive thing to add to a game.
Well, it's weird though. You guys think that? Is the single player going to suffer at all? Do you think because of the multiplayer added to it or
look
not?
like it.
Yeah, no, it
I don't
doesn't
think
seem
so.
like it.
How could it? I mean, these guys are professionals in God of War single player, so no worries about that. That's why this one's exciting.
Yeah, and we see them doing some new things. I don't know exactly what's going on with the time reversal mechanic that they showed.
no,
in the
that's
press
crazy,
conference.
right?
But there's definitely some more interesting things going for God of War. But we're going to move on to another Sony game. We're going to talk about Beyond Two Souls. This is a new David Cage supernatural action adventure in the vein of Heavy Rain. But we're definitely going to want to check a look at this one, and you will not want to miss it.
this next time, I'll kill everyone. Come on, Aiden. I think they get the message.
Did someone try to hurt you? How about a name? Someone I could contact? You must have family.
So far, no
Right.
X to Jason. Haven't seen that yet,
I know.
but still very excited about this one. Steve, I know
Jason?
this is a big on your radar.
Dude, this one is huge on my radar. I mean, when the character in that trailer says, "I'll kill everyone," you're like, "Oh my God, she could do it!" It reminded me, honestly, of like a weird cross between like the Fury and Carrie, like old 70s psychic movies put into like new technology and stuff. Like, unbelievable. That's gonna be so rad. I'm so excited for that game. Like, and Heavy Rain, I mean, amazing. A follow-up to Heavy Rain with psychic powers fighting the police.
I mean, there's definitely two camps of whether or not they're into Heavy Rain and it's that style of gameplay, or they're into something more traditional and action-oriented. I don't know, Jessica, what have you thought when you see a demo like that and you see all those types of actions and supernatural abilities? Does that all of a sudden get you really excited, or you get scared?
No, I really enjoy those types of games. I'm a big fan of just horror genre in general, but also action adventure, so this is kind of the perfect blending of the two. I also really enjoyed Heavy Rain when it came out, and obviously this seems to be, like you said, very much in the same vein, so I do not think that that's a bad thing. I'm very much looking forward to it. You know, at the conference when they announced that they made such a big deal about it being Ellen Page, I really didn't care that it was her so much. I didn't really get that. I wish we would have gotten a little bit more information in regards to the game itself. Rather than making that the big thing, but you know, obviously she's doing a great job. It looks fantastic, and yeah, I mean, the thing, it did what it's supposed to do, and that is made me want to know more. So I will be definitely keeping my eyes peeled for upcoming news about this particular title.
And Robert, when you see a lot of the facial scanning and everything that they're doing these characters for, you know, they take Ellen Page and they've done that for this game. Is that a viable kind of future for gaming? Do you see that's going to be kind of the base standard for what we're going to see?
It definitely is, because I mean that's what brings all the emotion and the depth and that emotional investment and connection to the game. And that's what got me so excited about this is it seemed to have all that amazing stuff from Heavy Rain plus gameplay I can get into. Because Heavy Rain to me was beautiful and I loved it for everything it was, but as a gamer standpoint, it's not something that I'd want to put a lot of hours into. This seems like a game that has all that, it can connect me emotionally, and has a gameplay that's going to keep me coming back just to play the game.
That being said, I do personally want to make the statement that for myself, I hope there's a little less six-axis gameplay steering around. I had a lot of issues with that. You know, I ended up doing things I didn't necessarily want to do, or choosing things I didn't want to choose because I had tilted it the wrong way or read it wrong. And so I'm fine to have a little bit of that, but I don't want it to be the whole enchilada.
From what I've seen, there's going to be more of that.
There will be a lot more of that.
Yeah, I know. But to your point about Ellen Page, this game is going to be taking place over the course of 15 years, and so I think we're going to see a lot of the emotional range that she's going to be portraying. And I think the reason they didn't focus on that was because there are gamers like myself who couldn't get into Heavy Rain, and so I think that's why they kind of showed off the more actiony stuff. There's a lot of explosions, and that gets my attention. I mean, I hate to say it, but like, I see the explosions, and then I'm like, oh, maybe I like this game. So I think that's why they led with that for E3.
Well, speaking of gamers like yourself, we have our good friend Tony sitting in the E3 social station, 2K1645, and he's got some questions about some of these games. So what do we got, Tony?
I really don't remember this be calling the social station, but okay, it's just a table. I've got a question mostly for Mr. Bowling. Epic Ernie on Twitter wants to know, what do you think is the best game at E3 so far, and what are you excited to see more of?
Personally, for me, it's Naughty Dog's Last of Us. I mean, that blew me away with the gameplay. Like, from a technical standpoint, I mean, yeah, the gameplay and the story and all that's super compelling, but the little things, like the context dialogue of, like, you know, the empty trigger and the guy hears that he doesn't have any ammo and he rushes in, and, like, when he gets clipped or he climbs up the ladder, he's like, all right, get up here, and, like, they're so good at connecting you to those characters. Like, I can't wait to see more. I want to play Last of Us right now.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, the dynamic between the two characters, you're learning a lot about the story without a cutscene just saying, here's the story. It's like you just see the way these characters interact and the way they share key moments. And it's great to see Ellen Page in 2 Sony games this year. I'm just really excited.
Yeah.
that
It's a
that's
good
going
year
on.
for her.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
she's doing great in gaming. What about you, Nicole? Are you a
Well,
big
I
Last
mean,
of Us fan?
on The Last of Us, I want to see how Naughty Dog takes on a game that's not just so linear. And so I'm really excited to see how they handle that. And for everything I've seen, it just looks amazing. And I like how the game makes you feel so worried and so stressed out because you only have like 4 bullets. But at the same time, the world you're in is so beautiful, and it's just there's different emotions you're feeling. I mean, that's definitely one of the games that I want to see more of.
And we haven't even seen zombies or the fungal creatures or whatever. Anything
I
yet,
saw
so.
dead bodies.
That's all,
Yeah.
So we're going to go back to Tony because I'm sure he's got more questions for us all about the greatest games at E3. So what do we got, Tony?
I've got a bunch of stuff. One from, wow, I can't even read this name. Laughing Theory, actually. What do you think about all the reboots that we're seeing at E3? Do you think that's troubling, or do you want more of that? Like
Reboots?
Tomb Raider, so forth.
Reboots. You know, it's funny because we were talking about Tomb Raider the other day. I personally like that we're seeing a reimagining of some of these games that we've grown up and love. As long as it's not a completely different take on it, I'm okay with them. Because otherwise, they might as well just create a new game. But I don't know how you feel.
Incredibly excited for the Tomb Raider reboot. I think I think it's nice to see a unique take, like a different take on the origin story. I think it gives Lara a little, she kind of went from obviously a very smart, intelligent, self-sufficient woman in the original series, but then she kind of ramped up into almost a superhero status, and then the movie came out and it was like, this is kind of getting ridiculous, and now we see her kind of brought back into the fold. It's a little bit more realistic, it's a little bit more gritty, you feel like she actually has to work at this stuff. And to me, that just makes her that much more multidimensional as a character, and it makes me want to know about her world, experience what she's experiencing, and have a wonderful, strong female character again as the main protagonist. To me, that's fantastic. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah,
And if she wants to moan a lot while she's playing through the level,
Listen,
all the power to her.
I have heard this argument be made that it sounds like a porno intro when you're watching the demo, and I have to say, I've watched it, and I think that if I was being chased around and I'm falling off of cliffs and getting stabbed and whatnot, I will be making those noises too.
I found it really disturbing. Like, I found the videos I've seen of it incredibly disturbing because, like, you're watching somebody that you care about, in a sense, getting really hurt. And
Well, to
part
be
of me
fair,
is
we
going,
hear you
"Oh,
moaning in
man,
the office all the
She's
time.
getting
It
her
has nothing to do
ass
with video games.
kicked.
I know, it made me
Just
sad.
absolutely handed to her. And that's a great point that you bring up, that because we have kind of grown up with this character, and you do have those nostalgic emotional feelings for her, to watch her kind of baby step her way through who she becomes, and she's just getting so attacked all the time and scared and cold and shivering.
I know,
and
I just want to help
shivering.
her.
It's like, I just want to put a blanket around you, Lara, and rock you to sleep.
No, they definitely stripped her down to kind of like to make her very vulnerable, and I think that survival element of Tomb Raider is really entertaining.
Yeah.
But let's look at another game question from our good friend Tony in the Social Lounge. What do we got, Tony?
Yes, the Social Lounge. I've got another one from Dr. Nigama. He wants to know, do you think that the console manufacturers are holding back as they prep for next year's E3 with the next generation?
Well, I don't think that guy is actually a licensed doctor. I just want to put that out there. But for the next generation, I don't know. I feel like we're seeing some glimpses of what next generation could look like. Robert, when you've seen demos out there and you see that, they're pushing a little bit of the high-end PC side of things, do you think, wow, that could actually potentially be something that launches on a next generation?
I do. I think, from a development standpoint, people are definitely excited and ready to ramp up to the next gen. And, anybody developing right now should be thinking about that. I don't think anyone's holding anything back. I think anyone developing for current gen has been developing for current gen for a while, so they've already had that plan in work and that dev cycle in work. But I think it's something people are looking forward to. Do I think people are holding anything back now? No, not at all. I mean, everybody's at this stage in the cycle, everybody knows how to get the most out of everything, and that's what they're going for. And that's why things are advancing and looking great, because the things that used to be challenges for us in the past aren't challenges anymore. We're ahead of that. And this year, it's a lot of sequels. It's a lot of iterations. So they already have their engine down. They're just honing and polishing gameplay and getting in the little things they just didn't worry about in the feature list before.
And speaking of next generation, you've announced that you're working on a new game that's coming out for the next generation systems, 2015. So we got a little bit. We got a couple E3s before we start hounding you for information.
Yes.
Human Element is you want to tell us a little bit about what you're looking to do with that title?
Yeah, well, Human Element is a very ambitious project for us because what we're looking to do is make a very platform agnostic experience in the sense of when I say that, I mean everything you do should contribute to your progression and your character. So top line what Human Element is we are looking at what the greatest threat in the zombie apocalypse is. What is the greatest threat?
I would assume it is the zombies.
You would think, based on every movie and TV show and every zombie lore we've ever seen but in reality, if zombies were real, and I think they are, that they're dead, they're weak, they're dumb, they're slow, they'll immobilize themselves long before they get to you. By that logic, the greatest threat in a zombie apocalypse is actually the survivors, us, the Human Element, that's strong enough and willing enough to kill you and take what they need.
Like Dawn of the Dead. Like the original Dawn of the Dead. The real bad guys were the people.
We're the people.
Yeah.
And so we're looking at the world 35 years after the event has occurred. What the event was doesn't really matter. It happened to be a zombie apocalypse. The disease and the zombies are still with us, but we know how to deal with them. They're more of an annoyance. They're in this world. We can deal with it. We have to prepare ourselves, but we're worried about everybody else. And so that's the core objective of Human Element is survival. But the key thing is survival means something different to all of us. You know, when I was 21, I had no responsibilities. Survival to me was an action-focused experience. I was killing zombies. I was fighting survivors. I was taking what I wanted by force. You get a little bit older, you have a kid, you have a 2.5-year-old daughter. You're thinking about survival completely different. You want to rebuild some resemblance of society. You want to avoid confrontation. You want to create fortifications. That's what we're looking to do, is allow you to choose your identity, and your identity will translate into difficulty. Surviving alone as an adult is inherently easier than surviving at the hardest difficulty with a young child, or the medium of surviving with another adult. Yeah, you have to split supplies, but it's not as hard with a child because they can fend for themselves.
So then if just going back to what you had mentioned before, these different modes of survival, are you looking to actually be able to, if you choose a particular road, like the adult with the parent, can you start setting up a society? I mean, are you going to start making encampments, or?
Yes, because that's only one element is your identity. Who am I surviving with? And then the other element is what your class is. And regardless of your identity, you can be any class. So just because you're a father with a daughter doesn't mean you can't be the action focus. Probably not wise for your daughter, but you can do it. Or intelligence focus. Intelligence are the ones who are creating the alliances, not focused on weapon skills. They're building fortifications. But the key thing is everyone has strengths and weaknesses, and that's why the alliances are so important. Because maybe I don't want to go out and fight. Maybe I want to do the resource management, scavenge, give you what you need, but you want to go out and do the fighting. If we have an alliance, I benefit from that buff. So I can be back worrying about fortifications, creating alliances with other people with fortifications to start creating those communities, which then give us better stat buffs and benefits to being strength in numbers.
And so then what's the ultimate goal outside of just surviving? I mean, are you going to have like a leaderboard? Do you get special achievements? I mean, like, what's going on here?
All that little stuff is yet to be determined. The core goal is just survive.
Okay.
That's what we're focused on, is like stay alive in this world at any cost. We really want to work on taking as much of the gamification out of the game as possible. We don't want this to be driven by objectives and driven by stuff like that. We just want you to live life how you want to live it, and your story is determined by how you approach these scenarios and the type of scenarios you are, because based on your identity and your class determines the type of scenarios you'll get yourself into. It's not a predetermined story. It's very much a platform to just let this world live and breathe and grow dynamically how it should.
And how large is this world?
Very large. We're going open.
Feel free to get in detail.
We're going open world with this. It's not the scripted A to B sort of scenario.
Okay.
So we're looking at creating this world and taking a very different approach to how we do post-launch support. So we're not looking at the traditional DLC model of like, oh, you get a map here, you get this predetermined location here. We're really looking at how we can expand and change the state of the world, which will inherently change the type of gameplay you experience.
So at E3, when you see what Wii U is doing with their tablet and Microsoft's doing with Smart Glass, do you start to factor that into your plans for how you're going to address gamers getting into the game in other ways?
Yes, very exciting, because what I love about Smart Glass is it gives us so much flexibility on the interface with the game. you no longer have to make the UI clunky or worry about things like that because you want to get certain experiences. And that's what causes a lot of features to get cut from the feature list or priority list. It's because like, oh yeah, we can add that, but we don't have a button for it, so we'd have to remap this, and that makes it so convoluted for the player, it's not worth it. Where with Smart Glass, think of like, let that be the cinematic immersion experience on your screen, and then, you know, your iPad or your mobile is like all inventory management, all the barter system, the conversation trees. Well, so you're not like altering that experience or compromising on that experience, so you can do all that side stuff here, because maybe you want to focus all that on action, focus all that on the first-person experience, let this be everything else. And then we're really looking at exciting things we can do on tablet with like, you know, maybe you have a friend or girlfriend or anybody who doesn't want to do that first-person experience. That's just not their gameplay. But they're still intrigued by the universe of Human Element. So let them, say they leave their house in the real world. You know, they're out and about, they have their iPad. Now they open up Human Element on the iPad, and they're pulling in all the, you know, the Map API, either Bing API or Google Maps API, the Business API from Foursquare. And we're overlaying the world of Human Element on top of that. So now you see your real-world locations, and you're now scavenging these places for dynamic supplies. The greatest scenario I think of is imagine being in the game, you're hurt, you're injured, you need medical supplies. You don't want to risk going out and finding them, or you just don't have the time. But you know there's a CVS pharmacy 4 miles up the street. Get in your car, go up there, scavenge that for supplies. That's what I mean by you can feed in what you're doing on these other devices and let it impact your world without the traditional, oh, I'm playing against, or I'm playing side by side with somebody on another platform. And then if you have an alliance, say you never want to play the console game. I play the console game, but you can go out because we have an alliance and be supplying, you know, supplies I need because you're scavenging that help me maintain my fortification, help us as a team, even though we're not working side by side or even on the same device.
I see.
That sounds amazing. I mean, I know we can't have enough zombie games, and to have something that has a huge human element survival in there. I mean, I know, I'm looking at Steve, because I know Steve's a big
I love
fan,
zombie games, so I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it.
See, I'm on the opposite side. I'm kind of over the zombie thing,
Right.
but that's why I'm very intrigued by this, because you took kind of what to me is an oversaturated aspect of these particular franchises and have turned it on its head so that it's now interesting again and unique and fresh, and I think that is exactly what this sort of thing needs.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm very
for
stoked
sale.
for you.
You did it.
Well, I wanted to thank
High
Robert
five.
for coming on and definitely giving us a good overview of what his game's going to be like. We'll got a little bit of time to wait, but we will be back with feedback and talking a lot more about nominations for our Best of E3 awards and a lot more other questions from you guys. So let's see you soon.